There is a sound most of us will never hear. It is the sound of a phone ringing over and over again because no one wants to answer it. It is the sound of nothing at all. Every year, 1 in 3 women in the United States will experience domestic violence at the hands of someone they love. Not in a dark room, not by a stranger or in an alley, but by someone who once told them they were safe. If there are 300 people in this room, that means 100 have experienced violence, but many don't want to speak about it. In my hometown, Lubbock, Texas, over 4,500 reports of domestic violence came in just a single year. The real number, though, is much higher, because the most terrifying thing about domestic violence isn't just that it happens, it's that most of the world doesn't see it. Last summer, I was interning at a local pro bono law firm, building my resume before college and whatnot, which one of my teachers would actually call try-hard high school overachiever syndrome, but I'd call it good sense. Who's to say who's really right? But one morning when I was working the front desk, I received a call. She had lost everything. Her husband had abused her. Her landlord had evicted her. Her clothes, her belongings, everything she owned was locked in a room she would never step foot in again. She was calling from a homeless shelter, she was scared, and she was asking for help. I knew there was nothing we could do to help her. We didn't have the resources to help with her home. That's not something they offered there. I could have cut her off right then. I could have told her, there's no way for me to help you, because even as an intern, I knew there wasn't. But I didn't. I let her keep talking, and I came to learn that that never happens. When people call for help, they are met with phone numbers, waiting lists, logistics, and they are immediately told what the system can and cannot do for them. But no one ever just lets them speak. And when I did, she spoke for almost half an hour. And as she spoke, her voice began to break, and she started to cry. Not because she was afraid, though she was. Not because she had lost everything, though she had. But because for the first time in years, someone didn't cut her off. Someone let her become human again. I'll never forget that moment, because it made me realize something no statistic ever could. We are failing survivors in ways we don't even realize. We don't just fail them when we ignore their bruises. We fail them before they even know they're in danger. We fail them when we teach young girls to tolerate pain in the name of love. And we fail them when we wait until the damage is already done to step in. That is not making a positive impact on anyone. That is not helping prevent it from happening to another young girl or woman in our society. We must stop waiting. I used to think this fight was just against intimate partner violence, but it's not. It's more. We're fighting the things that lead to this violence. By the time we offer someone a bed and a shelter, a woman has already lost her home. By the time we offer someone legal assistance, they've already been trapped for years. And by the time survivors feel supported enough to speak up, the ship of justice has long sailed. It's not good enough to only care after the damage is done. We cannot keep offering help only when people are drowning. We have to be willing to stop the flood before it begins. This is not just about survivors. This impacts everyone. This affects every single person in this room, because our silence affects young women. Our indifference prevents change from occurring. We have got to teach young people to recognize abuse before it happens. And we need to do this before it becomes normalized, and empower them to speak up when they do see it. And when they do speak up, we have to be willing to listen. Instead of telling survivors, we'll be here when you need us, we need to be telling them, we won't let you disappear. The way to stop the flood is through prevention, intervention, and empowerment. When I say prevention, I mean free self-defense lessons where girls can learn how to fight and that they are worth fighting for. Intervention with mentors and psychologists for young women so they can learn to recognize manipulation before they mistake it for love. And empowerment and creating a movement where no woman or survivor ever has to feel invisible. We are fighting for a world where no young girls ever have to run or feel silenced in the first place. I used to think I did my part. I volunteered, I raised money for the cause, I even interned for them. I was doing my part to try to make an effort against domestic violence. But all of my effort was being misdirected and focused on the wrong parts of the problem. Instead of offering life vests to the drowning, we should be building barriers to prevent this flood from ever drowning them in the first place. Today, we all have choices. To listen or to dismiss. To look or to turn away. To wait or to prevent abuse and make a true impact in someone else's life. I choose impact. That's why I started Safe and Seen Lubbock, not as a response to crisis, but as a revolution against this silence. Because the answer ultimately is to not wait. We need to be creating opportunities to break this silence and give them more opportunities to protect themselves. Of course, we need to be there for those survivors who crawl out of the pit of abuse. But what if we put up guardrails to prevent as many from ever falling in the first place? In order to create an impact, you have to be willing to do things differently. When I first started Safe and Seen Lubbock, it was just to make a difference in my own backyard. But then something happened. I started getting calls from people wanting to teach free self-defense classes, people donating to sponsor personal safety devices for the young girls in my program, and even a program wanting to build me a website. People saw we were doing something on the front end of abuse, and they believed in our idea. They saw what we were doing, and they wanted to help us. And as they did, I saw how much bigger this was than just Lubbock, and how it had to be bigger than our local community. Domestic abuse matters. The victims of abuse matter. Staying silent and looking away is easy, and keeping things the same is easy. But people keep getting abused while we keep not getting involved. It is a matter of human rights and decency, and it affects everyone. I can guarantee you someone in this room has lived this story or knows someone who has lived this story. They may not say it out loud, but they are here. Choose impactful action. It is my hope that by taking action on the front end of the abuse, we will prevent so many young girls and women from ever becoming silenced victims in the first place. Thank you.